The article is, it's basically for the core district. It's to keep national brand chain stores out of the very downtown historic core district. It's something that people have talked about for a long time. I don't feel like it's a radical idea. I brought it up last year at town meeting, and there seemed to be a lot of support. It wasn't in a legal structure yet last year, so this year we've been working on it with the planning board staff. Last year I really was a complete novice. I still am, but even more so last year, of how, citizen articles work, the timing of it. I hadn't paid attention. The deadlines are really in November for citizens articles. I didn't know that, but in January, after the holidays and retail and everything, I finally had time to say, hey, this is what I've seen in other towns, other booksellers have done. There's a lot of towns across the country who are taking proactive measures to protect their historic downtowns, and so I thought, oh, we should do that here. So I brought it up in January to the selectmen, which was not enough time for the planning board to get it, to get it properly tight. I did feel that it was worth bringing up at town meeting, which is why I called it and stood there and talked about it, because it got people thinking about it, and it's always good to have time for people to digest ideas, especially if they seem different.
That's right.
Although this one didn't seem different, most people really did think we already had a law like this on the books.
Okay, why don't we explain to folks what it is?
It would be like McDonald's can't come to the downtown, Starbucks couldn't come to the downtown, J. Crew, things like that would be not allowed. So whether we like any one of those things is a different question, because we could sit here and argue left and right that one of those that I mentioned, or 50 others, might, we might want, or I might like Starbucks coffee, but,
Sure.
So I don't want it to be about any specific thing, anything that's existing.
I see.
Totally, Lilly Pulitzer, things like that. The way I see it is it would detract from the uniqueness of Nantucket. It's a hassle to come here, and it's expensive, and so you want it to be unique and special, like worth people traveling for.
Do you think it would hurt us?
I think it would be kind of selling out a little bit. I don't know that it would hurt business necessarily. I think we have all those things in Hyannis, people can buy anything online these days, so the more unique you are, the better. That's the way I see it. This is going to go to a 2/3 vote of the town. If people agree, then great. If they don't, that's fine. I understand that too. I can totally see the arguments, thinking it interferes with business. I would say that we have a lot of other laws that interfere with business, so it's not the first. And there's a lot of places where we're already telling people, their private enterprise is regulated, or their, the HDC that has a lot of
It does.
Yeah, power. So
Yes.
yeah, over what we can and can't do. So it's a similar example, I guess.
So what are you hearing from local merchants about it?
Local merchants that I've talked to are very supportive. There's so many things going on right now with the retail, especially downtown, with Nantucket Island Resort, Steve Karp and everything. Mm-hmm. I always have wanted to make it clear that it's not about that to me, and this predated, their acquisition from Winthrop, so it had nothing to do with that. Merchants, now it's all tossed together. Most people that I've talked to are extremely supportive, and they're even more extremely supportive than I am. We have to save Nantucket, we have to do this. I say we have to talk about it, we have to make a decision whether we would like to do it or not. This argument is totally about just maintaining uniqueness and not becoming like every other
and have you looked at it legally? Can it be done?
Yeah.
Have other towns done it?
Other towns have done it. A lot of them have.
Interesting. There's
a great website for anyone interested called newrules.org. They have a list, they have a section on there on retail. It lists all the places in the country who have done it. Places like Carmel, California, and Coronado. Port Townsend, Washington has one that I really modeled it after. There's a few different ways you can approach it, either by special permit or just an outright zoning ban. And Andrew Vorse and I started this looking at it as a special permitting process, but it's a little more complicated that way. So And it also, it would have to do with like keeping things under a certain square footage, spread out throughout the, the town. And that's something we could consider doing. It just was a lot cleaner to try it this way first. And that's how they did it in Port Townsend, Washington, which is another scenic harbor town, historic downtown, rather similar in some ways to Nantucket. So that's a good one to look at, and they have all the laws on there. A lot of places have done it just to keep fast food out. That's
Right.
kind of where some of that started back. Going back a long time too, in the 80s. Some of those towns in California. Ogunquit, Maine, that's another one. Bristol, Rhode Island, I talked about last year. So
Interesting.
yeah, a lot of places have already done this. So there are legal ways. It hasn't really been challenged, but that's two-sided. The fast food places don't want to challenge it either in case it would uphold the other side. So, it's kind
So
of...
they don't challenge it in those other towns?
Not so
basically.
far. It
I
hasn't.
see.
There was a challenge in Coronado, actually, which was upheld. And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a planning
Right.
expert, so I just wanted to start this out there. At this point, I'm, hopeful that any changes that need to be made, particularly on this article with Nantucket Town Council, has said it needs a little work.
Okay.
So we're in the phase right now with the planning board. I'm hoping that it's unclear to me who exactly makes these changes when they say it needs to be changed.
You mean rewritten?
Right. So I'm like, Andrew and I worked on it a great deal. As I mentioned, Andrew Vorse was very helpful, Leslie Woodson, Marcus Silverstein. We all sat down together a lot during the fall, kind of hammered it out how it would work. So we've kind of done our side of it, and now I'm hoping that somebody comes back and says we'd like to see it tweaked this way, which is, totally I'm open to and very amenable. I just want it to be in a form that people won't pick at the form, the form of it, that they'll just be able to jump to the philosophy behind it, and whether you agree or not. But I don't want it to get hung up on particulars, which is pretty easy to do.
So town meeting will decide?
Town meeting will decide. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Just show up April 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever it is.
That's right.
Article 42, yeah. It should be very interesting. I'm excited to
Okay.
see what people have to say.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gina.